Right, so in this video, I'm going to talk about two things: flaws around backtesting, the walk forward phase, and how that is the game changer and bit that most people don't get and understand when they join POW, and that's one of the biggest things that they learn about, and how it's vital for your own trading success with algorithmic trading. Okay, so backtesting flaws. We've got to get the concept that perfection doesn't exist. Yeah. What do I mean by that? Well, there's no guarantee that any backtest or any past performance is going to indefinitely and perfectly carry on into the future and we're all going to live happily ever after. That's not how this works. Point number two, there is no time machine. Yeah. So this walk forward thing is not that there's a time machine and we can see into what the markets are going to do next month. That's not what it is. Sometimes people think that that's what it is. No guarantee of future performance that I've said. And also this concept that overfitting is an issue. It's very easy to overfit to the past and think something looks great and then it doesn't work in the future. That's where the walk forward stuff comes in. You can't really 100% remove that risk. You've just got to accept that you are reducing the risk of that happening, and the stuff that we can talk about on reducing the need for overfitting. Okay, that's in another video. So there's things that you can do to increase the robustness of your backtest and things that you need to consider and contemplate. So let's accept that start time, when your backtest starts versus when you turn on, there's a variable there. And what that can mean is that you're in different trades or sequences than you would have been if you started at exactly the same time. And that's no different to manual trading. Let's say two people start following a signals group. Someone follows on a Monday. They hit 3 winners. They've got a trade open. Someone starts on Wednesday. He then hits 2 losses. Well, he didn't get the winners earlier on in the week and he didn't get the trade position that's currently open. You're always going to get that. You get it in algorithmic trading too. So I would make sure that when you're backtesting and starting, if you always backtest from a Monday morning or from a Sunday night, that you start at the same sort of time. And also, validate your backtest by rechanging the date at different times just to see if you were in many different sequences, because again, you could have a backtest that starts from January to date, but the way that them sequences played out could have caused a different P&L or a different backtest if you were in a different position at a different time because you started at a different time. So just check in with that. Now, overfitting and what's going on in the world, fundamentals are always going to play a part. And with news, if you're backtesting with the news filter false, you're likely to increase your risk of overfitting to news just because that's what makes logical sense. However, when we're in a challenge, we need the trading days and hours. But when you're in a live or a funded scenario, that's why I personally prefer having pause on the news filter, because I know I'm just decreasing my chances of that backtest being geared around how news played out in the past. Okay. Same with martingale. That can also, you could argue, increase the risk of that being overfit a little bit too. Pairs and price moves up and down every second. Yeah. But if there was a big move and then it reversed at a point and you got a big jump on your P&L, the chances of that playing out as perfectly as that did in that test are also obviously a little bit limited. And this start time and how trades play out can also be covered in something called Monte Carlo simulation, which is available via the Quant Analyzer tool that there's another video on too. So all Quant Analyzer does is it takes all of the historic data that you've got. Maybe you've got data on 600 trades over the last few months, blah, 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 blah. It takes them all and it shovels them all, it randomizes them all and shows you that, hey, if this had played out in a slightly different way, this is the range of performance that you'd have seen. That's what Monte Carlo simulation is. It's a really important tool to see the lower and upper levels of that randomization of performance. Okay. And yeah, just touching on overfitting, things like not over tweaking your settings, not over tweaking hours before or after news, not over tweaking an RSI level by 1 or 2. There's no hard and fast rule book for me to say do this or don't do that. But it ultimately comes down to when traders tweak stuff too much. My approach is running a fast optimization, choosing a set file. I don't go back in and start tweaking stuff. Yeah, that's a surefire way of making sure that you then overfit your back test, and then when you run live, it doesn't play out. Okay, so onto the walk forward phase. Now this is huge. This is a massive part of algo backtesting, banker EA, even edge strategy. Now edge strategy and Pine script don't make this easy. What you've got to do is you've got to keep a little bit of data back. Don't backtest on all the data. Keep a little bit of data back and then see how it works. So ultimately, this can also be called the out of sample phase. It should be used in all tests, right from the first test you do. What I mean by test with this from the start is that you shouldn't be running an optimization without walk forward and then run it with the walk forward. That totally rubbishes the whole concept, because of course the walk forward bit is going to be good because you've already optimized using that data. Yeah, that's not what you should do. You should just, from the get-go, from any test or optimization you do, you've always got the walk forward phasing of data kept to one side, because that's what's used to validate how likely that is going to continue to play out. If you've got a good optimization and then it continues in the walk forward phase, then that is what you want. Yeah, that increases your probability and predictability of them settings for it to play out. If it falls off a cliff, it's not a good set file, and there's no point in having a rubbish optimization and a great walk forward either. That totally, again, isn't logical. It doesn't suit the whole concept. It's just a freak incident. Now, what might happen is on your next optimization, those settings might play out in both phases anyway. Yeah, but you've got to see this as this is validation. And I think one thing that helps people understand this is, like, this is a pre-live check. Yeah, we've optimized pre-live walk forward phase and then take it into the live market. Yeah, you could take it on demo. You could go straight. I go straight in, but if you hadn't been aware of the concepts and accept probability and have the mindset to do that, then you could just test the concept first. So again, it's not a snapshot of the future. Look at it pre-live. So let me explain this. So basically, we have options of what amount of walk forward phasing we use in our full test. We could do a half, we could do a third, we could do a quarter. Yeah. So in this example, this is a full 10-week test. 8 weeks are in the optimization phase, and a quarter, 2 weeks, is in the walk forward phase. This is the sort of thing we suggest for a challenge because you're in line with market conditions. There's pros and cons to this, as covered in other videos. And for a funded account, you might choose to test 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. That's fine. But this principle still applies, and I would always look to have a walk forward phase of a third or a quarter of the overall test. I think half is too strongly geared to the walk forward bit and doesn't give enough statistical significance of the optimization phase. Okay, so I always prefer a third or a quarter. Okay, now ultimately, how this looks on the MT5 screen is like this. So on a good test, you would see the optimization phase is profitable, and then this line drops, and that's the balance resetting. Okay, it's not a loss. It's just the tester going, okay, we're now starting the next phase, and we go back to 100K if that's your starting balance again. It's not a loss. It's the tester resetting. And then in this, the walk forward phase, the equity P&L matched, pretty much. It was still profitable and it was proportionate. We look for proportionality. Yeah. If the optimization phase banks 8 grand, we'd love to see the walk forward to bank around 2. It wouldn't make sense for it to be that far out of kilter, because we're looking for proportionality. We're looking for robustness. We're looking for predictability. We're looking for things to look like they're just going to continue, and that's okay. Yeah, we're stacking the deck of cards in our favor by doing so. So if we look at this one, this is a poor test, and this is what most people do using EAs. They don't use the walk forward bit. They simply run an optimization on all the data and just run live. And then it goes to absolute shit. And then they think, why? They don't get it. Yeah. So this walk forward here would be a set file that's overfit here. We wouldn't run it. There's no predictability on this set file. Yeah. But this is what most people do. They run this and then go live. They don't do this bit of the phasing. So this bit of the phasing isn't going to guarantee that everything's going to play out forever and we can order the Lambos and all live happily ever after. It's about probability. This is more likely to play out, hell of a lot more likely to play out than this. Yeah, there'll be times where this loses. There'll be times where, anyway, if you're deciding to retest and use this walk forward phase for 2 weeks, you should be re-optimizing in 2 weeks' time. For me, what I suggest to people do is they keep the amount that they're live in line with this walk forward phase. So in this scenario, walk forward is 2 weeks. You would run live for 2 weeks, and then you would follow this process again, and it carries on with the market at that time. Yeah, there's a diagram like this within the zip file and the set file stuff that shows that market phasing. Because basically, what you would do if I copy this, let me press copy. That would then go like this, and then it would go again, right? So this would be the live 2 week period in here. Yeah, so this would be live just in there, and then you would redo the testing here, and then you would go again, and it would just continue itself over whatever optimization phase that you choose to do. So yeah, in summary, we've gone through backtesting flaws, how to mitigate and reduce the risk of those things, and what you need to accept ultimately, and then the walk forward phasing of the market, why we do it, how it helps, what it means, pre-live function, it validates the predictability of your set file, and I've shown some examples there. So that covers those 2 things.